I'm a mathematician by academic and professional training. I was always a very active athlete, and I think it was kind of at my 30s when I started putting on more weight, and I really slowed down a lot in my 40s being inactive. And I got up to around 250, 260, and I'm only 5'9", so I was definitely obese. So what I did is I built a simple model on my desktop PC. Every day for 2 months, I tracked everything that I ate and drank and looked up how many calories were in each of those things. So after 2 months, the bottom line is I had dropped 60 pounds. So that's when I really decided, hey, I've got a model here. It's rough, but it works. And I think I could make a business out of this.
Welcome to the Art of Kaizen for Entrepreneurs, growing 1% everyday podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Art of Kaizen for Entrepreneurs podcast, where we discuss how to grow 1% every day in both business and itself. Today, we have Peter Conroy, the creator of the Difference app, an app that helps you get healthier with predictive, intuitive, and affordable weight management technology. They help you discover your true burn by tracking your body weight, caloric intake, and use AI and machine learning to predict daily weight changes and more accurate calculate calories burned at rest and while active. Thank you, Peter, for joining us today.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
And you're in a field that I'm super interested in. I was a 240-pound fat kid at 14 years old that didn't know the first thing about losing weight and really finding myself. And I found that documentation and staying on top of it is the first step to really taking your journey in weight loss. Can you tell me, Peter, kind of how your first step started in developing the Difference app and why you find this to be so important in people's weight loss journey?
Well, Kyle, I share kind of a story with you that, 160 million other Americans, it's not just you and I, but, many, many millions of people struggle with their weight in America, and not just in America, but worldwide. So I was one of those people too. And I decided to do something about it at some point, and I decided to use a weight management app. So I took a look at the marketplace and I found it to be relatively expensive. They were somewhat confusing, and they all kind of did the same thing. And I thought, I think I could build something here.
Beautiful. And tell me a little bit about your backstory. So you said you had a little bit of problem with weight management. Were you obese? Were you in a position where you just needed to find motivation? Like, what really drove you to get the app in the first place?
Well, so growing up, I was always a very active athlete. And I think it was when I hit my 30s when I started putting on more weight. And I really slowed down a lot in my 40s being inactive. And I got up to around 250, 260, and I'm only 5'9", so I was definitely obese. So when I decided to build the app, it actually, when I took a look at the app marketplace, I realized they were doing something relatively simple. And I'm a mathematician by training, academic and professional training. So I set out with a hypothesis. I said, could weight change be accurately predicted by a simple calculation of calories in minus calories out? So what I did is I built a simple model on my desktop PC. Every day for 2 months, I tracked everything that I ate and drank and looked up how many calories were in each of those things. Then I calculated the number of calories that I burned while I was at rest. There's a generic formula for that called your basal metabolic rate. And then I calculated the number of calories burned while I was active doing exercises. I was working out. And there's a generic formula for that involves your weight and the kind of relative intensity level of the exercise called your metabolic equivalence. So after 2 months, the bottom line is I had dropped 60 pounds. So more importantly, the correlation between calories in minus calories out, which is called your caloric difference. When I looked at my caloric difference and the correlation with my actual weight changes, they were highly correlated. So that meant the hypothesis was true. And another way of saying a hypothesis is true is it is valid. And another way in business of saying when something's valid, it's valuable. So that's when I really decided, hey, I've got a model here. It's rough, but it works. And I think I could make a business out of this. So that's when I started hiring the people that I needed to bring on board. First, I hired someone that designed the wireframes, and the wireframes look beautiful. Wireframes are just initial beginning sketches of what something might look like either on the web or on a mobile device. Then I hired a mobile app developer and he built the first version. And, at this point now, we've had over 200 people working on this project. And it's just been a really wonderful project to be working on. I feel like from its beginning, where it was kind of more like, how can I address my problem? I've since become very understanding that this is not just an individual problem. This is a macro problem. Obesity and weight problems are growing at 1.2% rate of per annum. So more and more people, despite all of the solutions that are coming into the market, this is an expanding problem. And it's now overtaken smoking as the number one cause of premature death in America and worldwide. So at our highest ideals, what we're doing at The Difference, we're really connecting with an area of healthcare that makes the biggest impact. And what we're really about when we talk about our missions and values being based on quality of life and improving longevity of life, that is really what is a driving force for me about continuing to develop this product.
Sure. How beautiful. And I think we can all relate. As soon as you hit 30, the body just changes. It just isn't the same body anymore. And it just seems so easy to gain weight. And then thank you for the listeners out there, the entrepreneurs and the business owners that have always wondered, how do I get into app development? The breakdown of how you created that initial app, starting with the wireframe and then going into the process. But the real factor was that you built a system, a hypothesis, as you called it, prior through your computer to understand what is the app going to function to deliver on results, right? What is the app actually going to do to ensure that it's going to be successful for the goal and the vision that the company has? Let's talk a little bit about the company development. When did you start the app development?
So we started in December of 2000 and I want to say 20. And and we did the wireframes kind of into early 2021 and then started doing the coding. And we got your listeners are probably familiar with the term minimal viable product, the earliest stage of the app that could be sold. That was finally put into the stores, into the Apple app and Google Play stores in July of 2022. That's kind of the historical markers. And since there, we've been growing at a 29% month-on-month growth rate of our total user base and a 19% month-on-month growth rate of our revenue and subscriber base.
So what's the total subscribers that you're at now?
We have around 215 total subscribers.
Beautiful.
So, we're still small. We're a startup company, but certainly the percentage numbers are a lot more exciting to talk about, at this stage.
Yeah, of course. And I mean, especially when you start getting into it, we work with a few other apps that we help promote and develop, and some in the same categories as yours. And it's the process that really happens once the app is live, which is the crazy part. It's the build out, right? All entrepreneurs understand the cost of build out. It's extremely expensive. And then moving into that actual business structuring and then advertising and promotion part about that. Let's talk about that a little bit. So obviously built the wireframe, built the concept. Now the app is live. It goes live on the marketplace. Who do you have to hire? What kind of team do you have to build after the app is downloaded? Is it just you, or do you have to bring in other support that is going to manage the app, do customer support tickets, develop the app? What does it look like for your team today?
So the best entrepreneurial startups are not solo entrepreneurs. That's what I've come to understand. I have a strength in mathematics, in marketing, in research. I'm kind of more analytical, but I'm not a programmer. So if I'm going to be a digital health technology CEO, I probably should get a CTO. So that was the first person that joined me as a partner. He actually started as an intern 3 years ago and just demonstrated exactly the kind of personality and work ethic that I needed in a partner. So I gave him some equity and promoted him to Chief Technology Officer and co-founder. Our next hire is likely to be either a fractional or a full-time CMO. We haven't done any advertising yet. All of our achievements so far in terms of growth has been in stealth mode. We did one test advertisement back in September of last year. We spent like $300 in Google ads and got 4,500 downloads at a cost per acquisition of 7 cents. So we know that the product is resonating well in the marketplace and our messaging is resonating well. So when we do start pouring fuel on the fire, so to speak, by spending advertising money, I think we'll get a good return on advertisement spend. But I'm not, as I said, a marketing expert, and we're probably going to want to work with a small marketing boutique, or until we get our marketing budget up to the level where a boutique would consider working with us, I'm going to have to make sure I learn how to do that and try to do it effectively in-house. So much of what you do as an entrepreneur is going to be in-house. It's always a question on a day-by-day basis of what can I do with such little resources before you make it big, right? So like one of the things I mentioned was my CTO was an intern. We bring on tons and tons of interns, and we've developed a real system with them so that they're very productive and they're able to actually make real contributions to the company. For your listeners across the country, look into local schools and universities, and they often have these kind of entrepreneurial pods or ecosystems that have resources like this. And it's not just human resources, they often have financial resources, grant money, and programs that you can participate in. So the question for us is, what can we do with such little resources? Well, the answer is actually quite a lot. When you're resilient, when you're hungry, when you're creative with what's being given to you, and you're a good steward of what's being given to you. So those are just some ideas of what I'd like to share.
I love that. And in this day and age, there's more opportunity than ever as a solopreneur having things in house, right? Content development, opportunity for virality, the development of the community that you built that you can communicate with in a much easier way compared to if you're trying to do the same thing from a gym 50 years ago, right? Much more difficult process to get yourself out into the world, much more limitations on your ability to represent yourself to the general public. I love all of that, Peter. I think your story is awesome. I love the approach that you had, the development. Let's talk a little bit of where the app is going in the future. Obviously, you have growth plans and you want to hit certain growth. You've already brought up that your next thing you're going to bring in as a CMO to present the marketing and how you present the product to the world to really scale and develop growth. Where do you see a product like this fitting? In the world of AI is already developing. You seem to be ahead of the curve. You're leveraging AI within your app already. But do you see that your formula and your system that you have there is going to be readily available to everybody? Do you see that your app developing in a way that will add nutrition plans, will add workout programs? Where is the future of the Difference app?
Yeah, so we're primarily selling B2C, individual app sales, one-off app sales to each individual customer. So we're going to be branching out into the business to business category. Our first foray is probably into personal trainers. Before I get into kind of where the business is going, I also really believe a lot in kind of professional development for founders. So right now I'm studying to become a certified personal trainer and a certified nutrition coach with the National Alliance of Sports Medicine. And by doing that, it will help me serve my customers better. It will help me have a more authoritative voice as a digital health technology CEO. It will help me sell to business personal trainers because I'll be one myself and be able to speak their language. And we'll also be able to respond to reporter requests. We got a lot of requests from the media about both nutrition and exercise. So being able to respond to these reporters and mention the difference should raise brand awareness. So professional development and, kind of never stop learning, I think is a really important component of being a CEO of a entrepreneurial startup. So some of the other plans that we have for the company, though, aside from myself, to bring out a new version of the website. We have a big new version 2 of the app that we're working on. The second version of the app will have a lot of new features, and that's what we're waiting for before we start purchasing advertisement. And then we're also working on an administrator council, because now that our user base is getting sizable, we're going to have to take care of requests like turning off and on certain notification requests and things like that, or updating phone numbers in the database, things that we don't want our employees to have to go into the database itself, but to use kind of an interface that stands between the raw database. So those are some of the things that we're working on. Longer term, we do tons and tons of primary market research. And primary market research is research where you ask, like you're doing here in your podcast, you're asking me a lot of open-ended questions, not for the intent of anything other than discovery, education, and learning. And that's what primary market research is all about. We have taken actually a program, I'm forgetting the name of it. It's a nationally run program by the government where we were kind of trained in doing this, but it was a really good really good kind of accelerator type program. And it required you to do a certain number of these primary market research interviews. And you were trained how to do the interviews and then adjust kind of your game plan for your company based on the feedback that you get from the interviews. So we learned about things like pricing and our sales channels and our marketing channels. We learned about from these interviews things like, should we be creating an app that kind of has more of a authoritative voice, or what are our customers thinking about? Is it more of a nutrition problem that they want to address, or is it more of an exercise problem? So you had mentioned that, and it really 80% of weight management is nutrition. So one of the questions we ask in our research is, how could a weight management app help our users get better nutrition? And some people have shared some really creative ideas that we would love to be able to execute. But, again, with being an entrepreneurial startup, you're always looking for the lowest hanging fruit, right? Because your resources are limited. You'd love to do everything, but you can't. You got to focus on what's going to give you the biggest bang for your buck, literally. So, so primary market research, we'll continue to do that. And I'm looking into maybe not meal plans or exercise routines. That would be a little longer term, but certainly things like integration. One of the biggest complaints that you have for a weight management app is data entry. People don't like having to re-enter their exercise data from their Garmin or Strava into a weight management app. So integration is very helpful. They like ways to quickly enter their data. So we're looking at some creative ways of allowing people to kind of input what they've had to eat and drink in a variety of different ways. For example, a food picture scanner. So you can take a picture of what you're having to eat on your plate or what's in your glass, and AI will figure out, oh, that's a glass of milk and 3 cookies, and it will parse out and figure out how many calories are in each of those and things like that. Anything to make the job, remove the hurdles of entering data that will be an area of focus.
I love that. And a few things for our entrepreneurs and business owners listening to this right now is the feedback loop that he wanted to put into place to understand how to improve himself and the business is critically important. Too many times, us as entrepreneurs have an incredible idea and we have this problem that we want to solve in the world. And when we go out to approach that problem, we realize it's a problem that was our perception, our reality of the problem, but we're not the ones buying. The people that are actually going to spend their hard-earned money, we have to live in their perception. We have to really absorb the perception of the consumers that we're going after. And the only way to do that is to have a constant feedback loop. Today, a lot of people do it with reviews, right? Reviews are the way to do it, but fortunately, those are public. And if you get a bad one, it doesn't improve the business and harms the business in many ways. So, Peter, I love your approach of going out there and doing first-person interactions to understand how to create a better product overall and then be able to implement that into the business. I think it's one of the most powerful things, and it's what we believe here at Kaizen. It's the ideology that we hold by. And if for those who haven't heard it, Kaizen, Japanese business philosophy, that means 1% improvement every single day in both business and in self. It's taking small steps for a larger goal. And that's my last question to you here, Peter, is in the sense of growth and development, right? Obviously, you have found your own way of helping the world through the Difference app and being able to put something out there that really allows people to be a better version of themselves. But what do you do daily to be a better version of Peter and increase your capabilities at least 1% every single day?
Well, as I mentioned, I am studying for the 2 credentials. certified personal trainer and certified nutritional coach. I also try to hit the gym at least 3 to 5 times a week. I was able to do that after I was dropped some weight. It can be hard on your knees and joints and things when you're heavier, but more recently, my weight has fluctuated, and I recognize that. So I'm currently in a weight loss period. I got back up to around 260. I know that's embarrassing being a weight management CEO talking about having a weight problem, but I'm also a customer of the difference. I use it every day, and since September of last year, I've dropped 57 pounds. So as my weight went down, I was able to start working out again. I decided to work out at the YMCA. And what's great about that, I discovered I'm headed back to Minneapolis, to my birthplace, to see family. And did you know your membership transfers? You don't have to get a new membership. You can use the Y in Minneapolis. And I live here in New Rochelle, New York. So I have access to health clubs across the nation through the YMCA system. I thought that was pretty cool. So aside from that, being a father of 2, and I also do a lot of work with my fraternity. I'm a regional head of health and wellness, where I do a lot of advocacy for things like mental health and fighting cancer. I also lead a mental health support group through the National Alliance of Mental Illness. And just trying to stay busy and make positive impact in the world and in, not necessarily the whole world, but maybe just my little space that I occupy every day.
Yeah, as Jordan Peterson said, you're a little corner of the universe, right? And being able to help that structure. That's honestly beautiful to hear from the working on yourself. And obviously, as you said, over 30, you mess up for 2 weeks and it feel like you gained 10 pounds. You mess up for a month, you're a whole different human being, right? So being able to work on yourself, both physically, I'm assuming, like you said, you use the app every single day, right? So you're a user of the actual platform that allows you to cut the weight when you need to cut the weight, and then be able to give back. That's the most powerful thing I've heard there, was really just the care that you have for the local community. And that stems from the creation of the app, or the creation of the app stems from that position that you have in your mind of you want to give back to the community. So Peter Conroy, thank you so much. This was an awesome interview. I truly hope that in the endeavors of your growth of your app, you're able to find the right CMO and be able to present this product to the world, because everyone needs support. As you said, with weight loss, it's one of the biggest problems in the United States right now. And this is something that's combating that, allowing people to live more comfortably, more free. And I think we both can attest that when your body is healthy and you're down on weight, you just feel better. Life is a little bit easier and you have the motivation to go out there and get it. So these people that are listening right now and want to download the app and want to get more information, where do they find you? How do they connect with you? How do they download the app and start using it themselves?
Sure. So you can always visit our website, which is thedifferenceapp.com. And maybe Kyle, I can just send you some links that you can share on the screen or in the comments or something like that. But the easiest way is just to go to thedifferenceapp.com. You can also look us up in the app stores for The Difference, Predict Weight. If you just look for The Difference, you'll see a lot of games spotting the difference between this picture and that picture. We don't have enough brand recognition yet. But it was a pleasure to talk to you, Kyle. Thanks very much for having me today. It was really great. And thank you for entrusting me to share some thoughts and ideas that are hopefully valuable to you and your customers and your listeners.
Yeah, some absolute golden nuggets. And Peter, thank you for your time, right? Truly, we believe that anybody that's working to make the world a better place is someone that deserves to be heard. And you're obviously working every single day to improve yourself and the people around you. And that's what we appreciate. So if you finish this video, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next Kaizen podcast.